What would make this an extraordinary conversation for you today?
Well, I've been following your blog ever since you started doing Instagram. And I've been also, uh, following your website. And it's given me, every morning I practice for a few hours in the morning at like 7. And that's kind of the time when all your questions come up. How we explain the logical reasoning. So that's actually helped me a lot. And now I've definitely improved. I haven't taken a practice test yet. I gave the July LSAT and I didn't quite score where I had to be. I basically just bombed it. And so I'm studying again thoroughly, one by one. So now main question is, how do you stay focused when if I'm reading just one passage or say one question, I can tell the answer right away. Like I don't have to spend much time. But if I am reading one after the other, how do you just stay like really focused and don't zone out?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
In my head at that point.
Yeah, it takes practice, and you have to, in a way, you have to fake it till you make it. So you have to find ways to get engaged and become interested in what the LSAT's talking about. In fact, everything on the LSAT is based on real world information. Like the information on there is, in a sense, true. Like it's based on articles and studies and journal articles and things of that nature. And so you actually can learn something while you're reading this. Yeah, and I know that not every topic is of interest to you, of course, but one technique I'll use is I'll caricature or exaggerate the different sides in a reading comprehension passage, for example. So if one side's a little bit liberal and the other side's a little bit conservative, I will exaggerate and say they're really radical versus reactionary, let's say, just to make it a little bit more engaging. And then in logical reasoning, just what's the conclusion and why are they dumb? So like, what are they failing to consider? What mistake are they making? Like if you were having a conversation with someone, you get to poke holes in their argument, or you can help them if it's a strengthening question, but you always want to be thinking, what is the gap?
Right. And then I also was thinking, like when their questions say the vulnerable to criticism questions or flaw questions, when it's like, simple wording, when it's not abstract, they're always right. But when it's abstract, I get so caught up. I don't understand. I kind of guess it right. Like I have those two answers where I'm kind of going back and forth. So I don't know how to, really focus on the abstract terms and how to just quickly absorb it. I just feel dumb.
Yeah, no, it's understandable. The LSAT's really great at making smart people feel stupid. They use every trick in the book. And so for abstract language, you've got to practice it so that it becomes more familiar to you. The only reason it's hard is that this is language we don't use in everyday speech. But the abstract language on the LSAT, it repeats itself. You've probably seen, you've done a handful of exams. Those same phrases come up again and again. And so you can learn it. You have the chance to learn it now. So basically, as an exercise, whenever you come across abstract language, keep a running list of those phrases and then look them up.
Okay.
You could even practice for, let's say, abstract flaw language, describing potential flaws that are wrong, even for the incorrect answer choices. You could think to yourself, how could you manipulate the stimulus, the argument, so that it would actually fit one of those other wrong answer choices?
Okay. And then what if you encounter a word? My first language is definitely not English. I moved to North America 10 years ago, but I'm pretty good at English. I've always studied in English school. But there are certain words which come up. I can kind of guess what they mean, but sometimes they don't mean that. What would you suggest? Should I just leave the question for now and then come back to it later? Or what should I do? Something like that comes up.
Yeah, if there are a lot of words like that in a given question, then yes, I would flag it, skip it, come back to it at the end. Because if you don't understand a handful of the words, that's going to obviously make your odds on that question lower. But if it's one or two words, you could try to figure them out in context. Occasionally, for a really difficult technical word, they will define it in context in the passage. And for native English speakers, this is tough too. And so you have to kind of use those context clues to figure it out. And then later, keep a running list, of course, and look up all of those words afterwards, because these things do repeat again.
Yes. I've seen a few words repeat again and again in my practice test. So
Yeah, so that'd be my advice. And just give yourself more time to study for this exam, because like I said, it's hard enough for native speakers, even harder for non-native. And so you just want to have a longer timeline.
Yes. Well, what I did was I originally registered for the April one, but I kind of feel confident that I can take a January one. So I'm really studying for that. Now I think it's 7 weeks to the January one. So what would you say? How many practice tests should I want to take one tomorrow and then obviously blind review it. But how many would you say if I do end up taking the January one? How many should I practice? I really want to score like 165. That is my aim.
And where are you at right now?
I'm at, I would say somewhere like 142, 145.
Okay. So that is a huge increase to look to get in 7 weeks.
Yes.
Do you have any other obligations or are you studying full time?
Well, I'll be studying pretty much, say 30, 35 hours a week.
Okay. That's a lot. That's really the maximum I would recommend. And so will it be enough? It's hard to say. I wouldn't necessarily rule out April though, because you do want a really big score increase and you're not a non-native English speaker. It could take a little bit more time than you'd expect. And so I'd say as you're moving forward, see how your scores progress. If after 4 weeks, you've jumped up 10 points or 15 points, that's a good indication you can get there maybe by January, but each additional point gets tougher to get as you move up the band. So I would consider April too. I would register for it as a backup. Now, to answer your question directly, I would say minimum 10 full-length timed exams.
10 full-length timed.
At least 10, so that when you take it on the actual date, it'll be like it's just another run through and you've worked on your pacing and you've worked on your endurance. But again, it's a really big score increase you're looking for. I don't want to say it's not possible to get there by January in 7 weeks, but I think it would take a lot and it would be against the odds. And so do you want to apply this cycle? Is that really what's pushing you towards January?
Yeah, I was originally going to apply in 2021, but my husband, he's like, you really have nothing to do right now. You have the time to study. Why not study and apply this cycle? Maybe you'll get in. With my personal statement and everything, like, I've started a business. It's been successful. So he's like, you might just get in, just try it out. So that's my reason. That's
understandable. Well, see where your practice test scores end up and see how January turns out for you. But if you're not at your goal score or close to it, then you might want to give it a few more months and apply next cycle. I mean, obviously, I know if you're not too busy right now, then the idea of waiting another year might seem unappealing.
Yeah.
But if you want the scholarship money for law school or you want to get into a better ranked law school or both, it could be worth it in the long run.
Okay. And I have one more question. Curveball questions. Whenever I start trying to do the curveball questions, I don't understand for a good 5 minutes. It takes me a lot of time to understand. The previous LSAT, when I did, it was a disclosed test. I was scored highest in my logic games. So I did, obviously there were 4 questions. I scored about 16, I think. No, 16 or 17. Yeah, 17 out of, 24. So I know there's definitely room for improvement, but the curveball questions really get me. I just feel so dumb.
Yeah, that's what they're meant to do, really. They're meant to be unfamiliar. So you're certainly not alone there. And the solution just to do a lot of those curveball games. How many games have you done up to this point?
Just the curveball ones?
Yeah.
Maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's it. So it's just, you haven't done enough. I have a list of dozens of them. And if you really want to master games, and games are actually the most perfectible section. So I would want you getting close to perfection or perfection on those. So run through that list. And that's one of those things where it takes a long time to work through everything because you have to build the foundation with the common question types. And then if you want a top score, you also have to deal with the less common and more difficult types. And curveball games certainly fall into that category. So use my list of curveball games and just run through all of them.
I have that list.
Great. Run through all of them multiple times, even if necessary. But there's a lot of work ahead of you. But I think if you even get through half of that list, you'll feel a lot more comfortable being placed in those unfamiliar situations.
Yes. Well, I do have although I haven't done a practice test, but I am practicing my sections, just the sections on their own, timed. So I'm not at a 35-minute right now. I'm at 40 minutes to do my, entire section. And I've definitely seen a jump just doing time sections. Now I have some problems, which I want to, obviously ask you for tutoring. I did email you. So I'm just working on those. And I think in the next week or so, I should be ready with my problems so that we can work together.
Great. Fantastic. Well, I'm really glad we connected today and I'm looking forward to working with you moving forward. What would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
I would say I got a lot more clarity on definitely the curveballs and being, really, it's kind of funny. If I don't practice for a week, it's like I've not practiced at all. But talking to you and listening to your podcast that I do, it makes me more familiar with the language and everything. So yeah, just getting more, I just get more comfortable listening to your podcast and just talking to you, I guess. It gives me more confidence. Yeah.
Great. Fantastic. Well, please keep in touch and let me know if you need anything moving forward. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.